some really quick work on point-slope theorem. So here is point-slope theorem. Starting point-slope theorem, let's assume that you already know how to figure this out. And m, if you don't remember, is slope, and slope is determined by doing y sub 2 minus y sub 1 over x sub 2 minus x sub 1. I just completed another video on that, so if you're looking at this one first, you're like, would I find slope? Start here. Go back and watch this video. But assuming you know how to find slope, or that you know what to do if you're given slope, let's try this. So let's find an equation. It says find an equation because there's more than one possible equation, but find an equation of the line that has a slope of -3 and passes through the point -1, 5. So look, I'm hoping that you followed my color coding. And -3 is this value right here, isn't it? And if you can see this is x sub 1 right there, isn't it? And this is y sub 1. These sub values, when you see these sub values, what you have to assume is that those values are given when you see the sub values. That's usually a safe bet. So let's try to write this out. I'm just going to use FITBA, fill in the blanks, right? So I'm just going to recopy this, y minus, well, what is y sub 1? And I go back here and say y sub 1 is this point that I was given, and the y value is 5, is equal to, and it says here to fill in the slope value, and the slope value is -3, so that -3, this m is this m is this m is the slope, right? Times x minus, this minus is formulaic, this green one here is this one here. But when we look at the x sub 1 value, it's -1, so this negative sign comes from the value here, right? -1. All right? So one form you could leave this in, if you're in calculus, a lot of times what you do is you leave it in a form that looks very much like this. You'd simplify this, a negative times a negative is a positive, so you'd simplify that out and make that a positive, wouldn't you? And you could leave it just like that, so that's one form that you could use. If you're in Algebra 1 or 2, or in college in college algebra, then your professor or teacher would probably want you to simplify a little bit. So I'm going to do my complete distribution here and here, right? And of course that would look like -3 times x is -3x, right? And -3 times this +1 is -3, all right? Is equal to y minus 5. I could do a little bit more algebra to simplify. I could add, right, the additive inverse here, which is not -5 but +5. So add +5 to both sides. And we get y is equal to -3x plus 2. All right? So that is definitely one form that you could leave that in. And I don't have any suggestions for other forms. I think that's a very good start. So this is what you need to memorize. So you need to start off by memorizing this. And then from that, realize that there are pieces that you either are given or that you can gather. So you would need the slope value. It just gets plugged in. And then you simplify. Okay? I'm hoping you're subscribing.